Hello, my name is Terry Zhang. I'm a senior technical marketing engineer from Palo Alto Networks Prisma Access team. Today I'm going to demo you GlobalProtect the Enterprise DDNS server registration. Enterprise customers rely on Dynamic DNS updates of remote endpoints to perform certain IT tasks or endpoint applications access control. Therefore, we're introducing GlobalProtect Enterprise DDNS server registration. Let's walk through how the feature works at a high level. When a user connects endpoints such as laptop or mobile phone remotely through GlobalProtect, it will establish the IPsec tunnel and it will get the tunnel IP address. GlobalProtect client collects and sends endpoint tunnel IP address, host name, and domain name to Prisma Access Gateway. Prisma Access Gateway generates the DDNS registration log such as tunnel IP address, host name, domain name of the endpoint connection during events such as GlobalProtect login, logout, etc. Then, the logs are sent to Cortex data lake. These logs are also displayed on the panorama. After receiving the updates from Cortex data lake, Panorama packages A and pointer records as NS update and updates the primary DNS server every 15 minutes. Next, Cloud Services plugin parses these logs and automatically registers the endpoints to customers' enterprise DDNS server. Enterprise customer, IT, and help desk staff will be able to connect and manage the endpoint by using the FQDN of the device. Softwares such as the Microsoft Endpoint Configuration Manager (MECM) can also consume the DNS for software updates remotely. Financial customers also benefit from this feature as they rely on DNS reverse lookups to perform certain banking application access control to endpoint. Last but not least, for customers who have multiple domains, GlobalProtect DDNS registration can create A records as per domain. Let's talk about deployment requirements before jumping into the demo. You will need GlobalProtect client on version 5.2.11 or later for Mac and Windows, and 5.3.3 on Linux. This is a new feature introduced in Prisma Access 3.1.1 release. Please also upgrade your Cloud Services plugin to 3.1.1 or later versions. You need to enable CDL as well, since we mentioned this is where the Cloud Services plugin would probe DNS update events. Last note on Prisma Access. At the moment, DDNS is only supported on single-tenant deployment. There are also requirements for DNS server. We need DNS server to be able to update DDNS through NS update. And at the moment, we only support Infoblox DNS server with version 8.6.1. Prisma Access requires base64 format authentication key file. We will cover key generation and management in the following demo. NTP is required to guarantee time synchronization between Prisma Access and the DNS server. Zoom creation in Infoblox server is also required for reverse pointer and forward A records. In this demo, we will first configure the feature in Prisma Access and the Cloud Services plugin UI, which will include configure the DDNS server as the primary DNS server in Panorama, enable the DNS services in Cloud Services plugin, configure time to live TTL interval, generate the DDNS authentication key from Infoblox DNS server and upload the key to Panorama. This will complete the configuration steps, and after that, we will demo how does the GlobalProtect DDNS registration work by a couple of operational use cases. We will first connect Windows endpoint via GlobalProtect VPN and verify DDNS logs on Panorama, and we will also verify the DNS records on the Infoblox server. Second, we will pre-populate a couple of endpoints, and that will be connected to Prisma Access gateway, and we will verify the logs and the DNS records once all the data got synced up. Third, we will verify A records will be created into different domains from the same Prisma Access gateway. Fourth, we will fine-tune the TTL configuration, and we will verify the DNS records also get the update accordingly. Last, we will disconnect the GP client, and we will show you once the GP is disconnected, DNS records will also get removed from the DNS server. Okay, let's jump into the demo.
So this is my Panorama dashboard. And I also set up an Infoblox DNS server.
So you will notice we have two dashboards, and we have created two demo domains, gpqa.com and the tsawant.com. So once you zoom into each of the domain, you will notice there's no DNS record, which means no endpoints is registered yet. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do is configure the DDNS server on Panorama. So the steps is click Panorama, Setup, Service, and click the Edit icon. Configure your DDNS server as the primary DNS server. So here I'm using my DDNS server as my primary DNS server. Click OK. This will configure your DDNS server. Next, in the same tab, Panorama, going to Cloud Service and click the configuration. In configuration, make sure you click the service setup, and in the service operations window, you will find Dynamic DNS configuration session. Click Enable DDNS option to enable DDNS server. You can also customize time to live TTL configuration from 1 hour to 24 hours. So our default configuration is 9 hours, and here I'm gonna to change it to 2 hours. Last but not least, for protection against the spoofed IP addresses, you have to use the authentication key to authenticate and verify updates from the cloud services plugin to the DNS server. Hence, you will need a DDNS key. So first, you have to generate the key from your DNS server. Take the Infoblox DNS server as an example. So here is how you will generate the DDNS authentication key. Enter the local domain on your DNS server and tag and open the toolbar. Find the grid DNS property. Once you see the pop-up window, find updates at the side menu. So as you notice, we already have the TSIG key configured. So if we check this key and click Edit, we will be able to review the key name, algorithm, and the key data. And there's no easy way to just save the key directly from Infoblox. However, just copy and paste all the information and into your favorite text editor, and following the same syntax, save it and keep it in a proper directory in your system. So this is how you generate the DDNS authentication key. You can upload or replace the existing key to your Panorama. So for now, I already have my key uploaded and stored properly. So verify if you have all the configuration look right. You enable the DDNS configuration, set the TTL interval, upload the DDNS authentication key. Also, let's take a last check. The primary DNS server is set to be your DDNS server. Yeah, if everything looks good, commit to Panorama. This will take a couple of minutes, but after this will complete your DDNS basic configuration. So while we're waiting for the commit to complete, I'm now opening my Windows VM, and first let's check my endpoint device name is Windows-10-21. And it's registered in the gpqa.com domain. And now I'm about to connect the endpoint to my GP. Now we see our GlobalProtect is connected. Let's quickly validate the tunnel IP address by clicking GlobalProtect settings, connection, assign local IP address. We notice that we get the .1.5 IP. Bear in mind, the device name is Windows-10-21 and the domain is gpqa.com. Let's jump to the panorama to see the GP log. So click monitor GlobalProtect, and I already narrowed our time range to only show us a 15 minutes log. And in this log, you can actually find our connection activities event as an agent message. In the description, it actually shows the host name is Windows-10-21, domain name is gpqa.com, client IP address is .1.5. So this is the log will be sent to CDL, and the cloud services plugin will query the exactly same log, parse it, and automatically update the DNS record onto the DNS server. Next, let's check if the DNS record is updated to the server. This is the local domain, and let's check into the GPQA domain.
For now, the records are not yet updated. We have a 15 minutes update interval. Let's have a coffee break and check out the result later.
Checking back the GPQA domain. Okay, perfect. The A record is updated. So we can check the endpoint hostname is Windows-10-21. It's a A record. Endpoint IP address matches what we saw just now, and this record source is the DDNS. And also, we notice that the TTL interval is 7,200 seconds, so that is that's equivalent to 2 hours, which is what we configured in Panorama. As we verify the A record, let's also verify the pointer record is also created on the DNS server. So now we see this 135 name is created for the Windows-10-21 on gpqa.com domain, and this is the pointer record, and also this record source is a dynamic. So far, we finished the first operational demo use case. We connected the Windows endpoint to through the GlobalProtect VPN, and we can verify the GP logs on Panorama, and also we can verify the DNS records. Both A and the pointer records are added onto the DNS server. This time we're going to try to ping this domain name. As you can see, we can ping this domain name. And the next thing as an end-to-end solution, as if we are the IT and help desk staff, we want to troubleshoot or push software upgrade to the particular device using the host name. So that's how we can connect the RDP, not using the IP address, but the host domain name. Once we connect it and type in the password, as you can see, the RDP will be established. And now we are on this remote endpoint, and as IT staff, we can perform troubleshooting. The next thing I want to show is I'm going to bring up another Windows endpoint, but join a different domain. As you can notice, this Windows VM is going to join the tsa1.com domain. And the device name is client-new Windows 10. I already established the GP connection to save the demo time, and you will notice it is connected to the same GP portal. Let's verify the connection tunnel IP address. So it's a .3.134. So when I switch back to my panorama, so you will see the log showing I already have this endpoint registered. So this log indicate the host name is a client dash new Windows 10 and domain name is tsa1.com. Client IP is .3.134. This Windows 10 connect to the exactly same remote network node, but join a different DNS domain. So if I'm gonna to double check whether this DNS record is added to my DNS server, I'm gonna to zoom into the tsa1.com domain in my info blocks. Okay, so I have my newly added endpoint here. You will notice I have the client new Windows 10. It is learned from a dynamic DNS. I have the record added and the IP address matched to the log description. Okay, we are done with the top 3 use cases, and now I'm gonna to pre-populate scale of endpoints and showing another demo. All right, everyone. I just pre-populated a batch of endpoints at the backend. So let's see if we get any log on the panorama, indicate the event. So as you can see, it captured all the endpoint DDNS registration log. In this log description, you will notice the host name of the endpoint domain. I'm adding them to tsa1.com, the IP address of each of the endpoint.
There are about 70 pre-populated endpoints. It also matches the log counts to be around 75.
Now let's check if all the DNS records got added to my DNS server. I'm going to the tsa1.com domain. Okay, great. So I have a bunch of DNS record added via the Dynamic DNS, and you will notice all the A record and the IP address of each of the endpoint, and the endpoint hostname matches what I have in my Panorama log, CDL log, which is great. And let me see. Okay, the TTL configuration matches to 2 hours, which is what I set in my Panorama. This is great, and let us verify if the pointer record is also added to the system. You will notice so all the pointer records are added as well, and it is for the reverse DNS lookup.
And this summarizes the bench pre-populated endpoint demo.
So in this demo, we are going to change the TTL configuration. And once the TTL interval is changed in the Cloud Services plugin, that should also update the DNS records TTL setting. So first we go to Panorama, Cloud Services Configuration. Then we're going to Service Operations, going to the Dynamic DNS configuration. So now our TTL is configured at the 2 hours, and I will just randomly pick another timer. I will set it to the default 9 hours. Okay, so this is the only change we are going to make, and I'm going to commit to Panorama. So once the commit is complete, we will verify the DNS records TTL setting also get updated. Now our configuration committed successfully. Let's check on the DNS server if our TTL configuration also got updated. We are going to zoom into GPPA domain. Check that on the Windows VM we created at the very beginning. So as you can notice, TTL interval is updated to 32400. That's in the unit of a second, which is equivalent to 9 hours, which is we just configured. So this validated that the TTL configuration will be managed on Panorama, and it will be updated to DNS server. And the next demo will be our last one, and we are going to demonstrate once GP is disconnected, the DNS record will be removed. For the last demo, we are going to disconnect the GlobalProtect VPN. And as a result, this should remove the DNS record of this endpoint from the DNS server. So this is the very first endpoint we spin up, Windows-10-21. So now I'm going to disable the GlobalProtect. And then let's verify in the info box DNS server whether this DNS entry will be removed. Bear in mind, this may take up to 30 minutes to get the record information populated to the DNS server. So as we switch back to the info box server, and we're going to check the GPQA domain. And we see now, since we disconnected the GlobalProtect VPN, the DNS records also got removed from the DNS server. So this will be the last demo use case. Thank you all for watching this demo, and have a nice day.